everybody. Welcome to the MPF podcast. We're here live at Maximum Performance and Fitness in West Fargo, North Dakota.
Well, I mean, we're not live, but we're live for us.
We're live for right now. Holy, that was... I had to get the dust out of my mouth. That was pretty bad. Who are you?
I am Levi Nordstrom, college student majoring in communications at ESU.
Oh, jeepers.
And we are back after a little hiatus. We had some issues with contract talks. We held out for a couple weeks.
Yep. We wanted a little more money.
We were thinking about entering the portal. We ended up not.
We stayed loyal to the team. You know, we're going to stay loyal to you guys as well.
We were on a little Christmas break, but now we're back with kind of a different topic than, I mean, it's the same topic, fitness. We always talk about fitness, but a different kind of genre or area of fitness. Let's talk about the history of fitness.
Holy smokes. I'm going to be able to only go back the past 30 years or so we're going to have to do some research.
Yeah, I went and searched. Spent hours on this.
High and low?
Yep, I spent hours on this. Not really, but just kind of went to a website, a couple websites actually, to go back to the history of fitness and like how it started. I mean, obviously we got the hunters and gatherers. I mean, that's really how it started, and how it's kind of evolved over time, starting with the ancient civilization, of course. Pre to 500 AD.
Holy. All right, we're going way back. Time to give you guys an education. So lay back, relax, take a nap if you need to, but this is going to be interesting.
Let's talk about survival-based fitness. And that's really where it starts with, like I said, hunter-gatherer. We're hunting for food, farming, fighting. And
so everybody let yourself meditate here for a little bit. Think about that. Put yourself in their shoes.
And those are basically built-in workouts for them. They weren't actually in a facility like we are today. To start, they were just trying to survive, basically.
Can you imagine that? I mean, really, just stop and think. You've got no electricity. You're not going to go flip a switch on your Traeger to go smoke that rabbit you just killed.
Yep.
You got to cook it over the fire. But in order to get that rabbit, you don't have a gun. You got to hunt it and then shoot it with some kind of homemade spear of sorts. And you're climbing up and down. It's kind of like your old-fashioned, like you're hunting.
Yeah.
And you don't have, I mean, that basically hunting, and let's say you're elk hunting out in western North Dakota or Montana or wherever, where you're actually climbing up and down the mountains, is actually one hell of a workout.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have the ho-hos and dum-dums and potato chips to get them fat.
They also didn't have the machines to create like their houses and stuff.
Correct.
Something that people might not think about is they had to go gather all those resources to build the houses instead of going to the hardware store and
I'm guessing,
driving to the hardware store.
Right, probably living in caves and moving rocks, and those rocks were not little. So that's like strongman stuff right there.
Speaking of strongman stuff, military strength. I mean, that was kind of like the whole goal then. Was you want to be strong so we can win the wars, and also, I mean, aesthetics a little bit. But the Olympic Games started in 776 BC.
I had no idea.
That's crazy to think about.
I had no idea that was that long ago.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what sucks is that we can't watch any videos on YouTube from 776 BC. How cool would that be to see what the Olympic Games were like back then?
Yeah, I don't even know what the first Olympic matches were. Let me search it up.
I'm visualizing this right now. And for whatever reason, it's in black and white, and it shouldn't be, because unless everybody at that time was colorblind.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. It's since there was no color pictures back then, I feel like everybody just thinks it was
right.
Black
Everything
and
was
white.
Black and white. The whole world was black and white. I can't imagine what that would have been like. That would be so cool to see right now. I don't think any of them. I'm pretty sure the 100-meter dash was not involved. It was probably chasing after rabbits and stuff, and chickens and whatever wild animals you had to chase after it and kill it.
It's kind of hard to like search it up. People probably don't quite
nobody was around it. Steers, nobody knows. Didn't keep well enough notes.
It sounds like a lot of it was like running, like races, long distance, short distance, and some wrestling, long jump, discus.
Serious?
I guess that
I suppose you're trying to jump over rivers and stuff, trying to catch another animal to eat.
Maybe boxing, but we're probably not 100% sure.
I could see the wrestling.
Yeah.
Totally.
Martial arts.
Seriously.
China and India back then in the ancient civilizations, they started their martial arts, of course. I mean, we've got karate and taekwondo, all that different types of martial arts. And obviously, that's a form of fitness. And, you know, of course, you're working on your flexibility. And how would you categorize that, actually? It was like the martial arts type of fitness stuff. Like, how is that like an endurance, like cardio in a way that, you know, you have to...
Oh, yeah, I would say, well, it all depends, because I think there's some, and I am not very well versed in this, but I think there's some martial arts that are kind of a little more grapply, a little more towards grappling, so obviously there's going to be a little more strength in that. I mean, it's a lot of mental discipline, really. It's a lot of mental discipline, and then obviously some cardio, and just the balance aspect of it is pretty awesome. And I've always thought it'd be cool to do. I just never have done it. Not sure why. I never got into it, but I think it'd be good to do. You think at 51 I could still try?
No. I mean, you could, but I think
it'd be pretty slow. It'd be kind of entertaining.
I think yoga and breath control might be more...
You think it'd be more up my alley?
Yeah, more up your alley. I guess
think
that
I'm a
was
little high-strung?
Around back in the day.
Yeah, if you would have seen me back about 25 years ago, maybe 20. Well, how old am I? Yeah, 25 years ago.
Yeah. Let's go to the Middle Ages. Just like you're in your Middle Ages.
Yeah, that's true.
500 to 1500s. We're kind of making a big jump here. It slows down after this because obviously there's more advancement, especially during the wars. But physical fitness was mostly for soldiers and knights. So similar to kind of the ancient civilization. However, it's geared more towards fighting rather than gathering food.
Do you think the knights had to run with their metal gear on?
Probably.
I wonder.
I mean, you have to prepare. So
I suppose they had their knees were probably somehow covered. They weren't maybe covered so that you could actually run.
I can't remember
having that freaking metal helmet on your head and just be able to see through the holes for your eyes, and that's it.
What was the major flaw to that armor? I feel like it was like you couldn't take it off or something if you got injured. Like it was really hard to take off.
I could see it being hard to take off.
I can't remember what it was. Obviously, it was heavy and got pretty hot, I'm assuming, in there.
So now, like at this era, then we're talking about like the fitness side of it's probably more towards wars and fighting.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's still no tractors, so you still have to move your stones and wood. That's all by hand and pulleys and systems like that.
Yeah.
Now that's real exercise right there. And you still, luckily at that time, you don't have the crappy food that everybody has today, access today. So you could those guys were, and gals, they were in shape.
We talked about it recently on the podcast, like obesity rates and how they've rocketed recently. Back then, that wasn't even like a thought, probably.
I'm pretty
for
sure there
most
was no
people.
obesity back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like, I don't even know, what do you even say? The day? I mean, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, training involves sword fighting, horse riding, armor training. I mean, weighted vests.
Yeah, that's exactly, for
same
sure.
Thing. The general population focused on exercise as a concept. Like they didn't really think about it as like a necessarily, you know, you have to go every single day or you have to go 3 times a week or whatever. It was just an idea at that point where only people that were fighting really needed to train. Because, I mean, to be honest, they were kind of doing this every day. They were basically training every day just by walking and not eating unhealthy stuff.
I don't think they were worried about...
they weren't too worried.
They weren't too worried about periodizing their program and taking days
creatine
off. They didn't have any... They had the real organic... everything was organic. They had their organic meat. They were gathering their vegetables and the fruits. They were highest quality stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, stress-wise, I mean, their stress was totally different. They were worried about, when's my next meal coming to, am I going to die today? I guess that's pretty stressful, especially if it's fighting times.
If you get a cold, you're done, basically, back then.
They probably didn't get
medicine.
Sick, hardly. Of course, I shouldn't say that, but their average, I wish we could figure out, like, I'm sure there's a way to find out, but like in the Middle Ages here and earlier, what's the length of life? Would be curious to find out. If it's actually longer or is it shorter because there was no medicine and I don't know. That's interesting.
Luckily, we have Google. 1080, the average life expectancy was 24 to 31 years old.
So then what happened? I suppose they could have got an illness.
Yeah, I think it's more so just the disease or infection. You can't really like slow down anything if you get anything. You kind of,
I suppose.
hoping.
Yeah, think about getting. Let's say you're in a sword fight and you get part of your arm cut off, and you easily get infected because they don't have
you can't really
means
stop
to
it.
clean it out, or you try to go to the lake and get some kind of other sickness from. Yeah,
there's a lot of things that we don't necessarily think about because we just have all the medicine for it. So
right.
We can't really picture their situation. But now the Industrial Revolution, 1700s to 1800s, slowing down a bit, only 100 years. Health problems begin to rise. First structured exercises formed with gymnastics and physical education schools.
Totally.
So that's kind of when that originated.
So you think about that, it makes sense because really gymnastics, what do you need? Some bars? So you can do your hangs and flips and pull-ups and whatnot.
Wonder if
so your simplified movements, but you're using your body weight.
I wonder if they did the fitness gram pacer test in the physical education. That'd be hilarious. Oh, man. Everybody like talks about it. Did you ever have to do the fitness gram pacer test?
All I remember doing, I don't remember doing the mile run, so we must not have did that. I remember doing the shuttle run, so that was the the erasers. So it was basically like the pro agility. And then you would grab erasers, and I was pretty good at that. I don't remember doing pull-ups. I don't know why. I don't remember doing that stuff in elementary, like the physical fitness test, the presidential test. I do not remember doing that.
Well, we never had to do pull-ups. It was sit-ups, push-ups, and pacer test, and the mile. That was middle school. The mile was...
I don't know. I must have blocked it out. I just do not remember doing sit-up, push-up tests when I was... So, what, was that elementary or middle school or both?
Sit-ups was... Oh, yeah. I guess completely forgot about this. Sit-ups and push-ups were in elementary school, but then middle school was push-ups, plank, and a mile.
Interesting.
The plank was actually kind of fun. Something different.
Just to hang there, just to hold yourself is fun?
I mean, it was just like a normal plank. I think you could either do like arms straight or bent.
Oh, really?
I guess I don't really know if there's much of a difference in terms of like how difficult it is. But
I don't know. I think they're boring.
Yeah. But I always remember the sit-up was like way too easy.
Some people struggle. It all depends too on your if you've got a long torso or a short torso, legs length. Yeah. I mean, it makes a big difference when you're doing sit-ups.
I wonder what it means by health problems begin to rise in the Industrial Revolution. Like, were there some, processed food? Was that starting to like...
I have trouble believing that was starting there. I think that I don't know what that means because I'm guessing people are starting to live longer.
Yeah.
Is it probably at that time, maybe there wasn't as much fighting? Because I'm guessing earlier on, there was probably people were dying and with a lot of fighting and so forth. Whereas we get a little bit older, Industrial Revolution, I guess you're getting guns, so it'd be a little easier to hunt your food. So it's possible they were starting to get processing some food.
I mean, this is when the U.S. kind of separated, like the end of 1700s. So I wonder if without Britain to work with in a way, maybe we just didn't have as much resources in terms of medicine, I guess.
Who knows? It's possible. It's kind of interesting when I really start to think about that and like what they were doing. And so, yeah.
Early 20th century. So we got 1900 to
now
1940s. We're starting to really slow down. Now only 40 years. Strongman era.
That totally makes sense. That would be kind of honestly the start of the fitness boom per se was going to be, it was more strongman stuff. It wasn't as much into the bodybuilding yet. That's coming yet. But hey, what's how much can you press overhead? Now you're taking your barbell. It's actually kind of fun to see some of these old pictures and they're doing an overhead press, and they are dang near bent in half and turning it into a standing bench press almost with the strongman type stuff. And that'd be probably more into the, I suppose the 20s, 30s, and 40s. And then they would call it the clean and press. It was never the clean and jerk. So that'd be their weightlifting stuff. And I'm trying to think of what other ones were really involved. Obviously, the deadlift was always a big one. How much weight can you lift? And then, your older school, earlier on strongman stuff with, which they still do now, the stone carries, and which I think is pretty fun. And watching guys and gals do that it's amazing. Like, holy crap, taking an oblong object and having to lift it and put it on a stand.
How about the one where they have to like throw it over their
over
the back of their
that's awesome.
body?
And
what is that even called? Like, you just grab the stone or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, they'll throw kegs over their head or whatnot. But there's more into the European side of it. It's in Scotland. It's called the Highland Games. They actually take a telephone pole and you have to throw it over the back of your head. And I don't know if it's where it lands or how many times it flips or how they score it, but that's pretty wild.
This is also when home workouts and dumbbells became more popular. Not nearly as popular as they are today, obviously. But
Right.
This is more so explaining, like, this is when it started to become more of a normalized thing for people to lift.
Yep, starting to strength train. I'm still guessing it's probably, it's probably mainly men. I don't know that the women are doing a whole lot yet. If you've seen in your research, and I wish that maybe there's a way to incorporate a video, because there is some videos out there. It's probably more into probably the 40s. The women, it's like they had rollers. They would stand tall, and they would have a machine that would roll like their calves. It'd just go up and down their legs. Yep. And then it would work up above their knee, up and down to their butt, I don't know if it was kind of more like they were kind of doing, I don't know if you call it fat, working on trying to get rid of the fat cells or get rid of the fat in their body, or what their thought process was, because it definitely wasn't strength. And then you'll see some of them that I would love to find is a machine with a belt. And they literally have the belt on their butt, and the belt will just vibrate back and forth. And that was mainly what the women were doing.
You like stand on or whatever, and it just vibrates. It's
kind of like the vibrating plate, except for it was. It's kind of entertaining. If anybody's ever looking to see some entertainment, do search some of the stuff that the women did in the 30s and 40s and 50s, and it's pretty cool.
Or just go to your grandparents' house and see what they have.
That's true.
I mean, pogo stick looking thing.
We found a few different things from
funny.
Those. But the funny thing is those are probably like 70s.
Yeah.
And maybe 60s. Like the twisting board, that could have been in the 60s. But yeah, for the most part, we were finding stuff in the 70s and 80s.
Now, this is when fitness kind of really took off, mainly because of processed foods actually also taking off, because that was post-World War II. I just looked it up because I wasn't sure when that kind of started. But
so post-World War II is when the processed foods really started to kick in.
Yeah, because that's when everything started to boom, and
it went fast.
With war, there's a lot more job opportunities open.
Yeah, sure.
So a lot more ways to make money. So the U.S. became very, very rich off of war, basically. So this is 1950s and 60s. JFK was the president at the time, started to promote youth fitness. Earlier we talked about, schools starting to incorporate fitness, but I feel like this is more so explaining like kind of what we talked about with the fitness testing.
Yep.
Commercial gyms started to begin, and barbell training and bodybuilding gained attention. Mr. Olympia. That's when that started to begin.
That's
1965.
1965. I did not know the year on that. That is interesting. And it's funny because if you look at some of the pictures of the bodybuilders back in the 60s, it's kind of more towards like my shape per se. Obviously, well, a lot leaner, but they weren't huge type people. And so it was prior to the big drug phase, the steroid phase and so forth. But like your commercial gyms, I suppose your Gold's Gym was probably one of them. Now some of your selectorized machines are starting to come around, and it's pretty crazy how fast everything moves now. It's like you talked about from the 50s on up to today, how fast everything evolved compared to how long we were talking about. Hundreds of years. And now it's like, now we have to break it down into decades instead of hundreds of years. So it's kind of fun to see that progression. Yeah, I wonder what a commercial gym membership costs then.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, Planet Fitness, you can go there for $10-15 a month. I wonder what Gold's Gym was charging.
It had to have been like $1 or $2, right? Because like
You
if you think about how cheap like candy wasn't it like 10 cents or something like that?
Yeah, probably 5 cents, 10 cents.
Like, yeah, money was just so different then because of how much money we had. It kind of drowned out in a way that the value of a dollar bill, you know, it was a lot higher than it is now.
Yeah, like a $1 bill then was probably like $100 now. 50s and 60s were probably not talking a whole lot of supplements quite yet. I'm guessing the supplements came around just a little bit later. What'd you find out?
It says that probably like 1960s $1 was about like $20 to $25 in value compared to today.
Oh wow,
which that's actually quite a lot, to be honest.
True.
That's kind of wild to think about.
Well, if you think about it, let's say that candy was 10 cents for a candy bar.
Yeah.
Have you bought a candy bar lately? I can't
like
think of the last time I have, but yeah, it's like $2 for a candy bar.
I'll never buy a candy bar because it's just
It's a waste.
I look at it, I was just like, oh, it's just like, yeah, it tastes good, whatever, but it's just $2.50 or whatever if you want a king size Kit Kat or whatever. It's like I'd rather go and spend $8 on a frozen meal.
Right.
Fill you up more.
I remember when I was a kid, I'm guessing this would have been in the 80s, you know, the big thing was candy bars would be 4 for $1.
Mm-hmm.
Once in a blue moon, it might be 5 for $1. And my dad he had a huge sweet tooth, and there was always, besides ice cream, there was always candy bars in the cupboards.
That's funny.
Yeah, if it was a 4 for $1, like I was gonna come home with probably 8 candy bars. I don't know. There was almost always candy bars in the counter. But they were probably like this big,
king size. King size.
You know, they were not big. You know, so they were little guys, and then we just get them bigger and bigger and bigger, and then of course raise the price on them. Now it's the opposite. Yeah. They're trying to shrink them a little bit and keep the price where they were.
So what were the brands of candy bars back then?
Oh, probably, you know, obviously your Snickers bars were, but the Mars bar, I really liked those back then. They had you could get an almond Mars bar. Obviously Kit Kats were a thing. I never really was a huge fan of the M&Ms. I would rather have like a bar and eat that for some reason. I never was a huge fan of Milky Way. It was just okay. Whatchamacallits were kind of fun once in a while. But yeah, it wasn't anything. I mean, they're still around today, but I remember the Mars bar. They were a little bit smaller, but they had almonds in them. I really liked them.
Interesting.
Might have to stop by the grocery store.
Yeah. Nowadays, it's Kit Kat and Reese's. That's like kind of the top two. Hershey's is obviously in there, but I feel like a lot of people don't want to have just a plain Hershey's bar. Like if you're having Hershey's, I feel like it's got to be with something.
It's going to be your s'mores, making s'mores.
Yeah. I feel like it's got to be in something. It can't be by itself.
Think about it. That's probably the only time I really have candy bars anymore. Is like when we probably only did it.
It's true.
2 or 3 times this past summer. We didn't do it very often. Have s'mores at the fire for some reason.
Or you sneak a Kit Kat or something from Halloween bowl.
Oh yeah, for sure. Gotta sneak a little bit of those for 2 days, and then like, all right, get this out of here.
Yep.
We never have any leftover candy. Leave the bowl out. Take it all. Do not want it.
Yep. The 1970s and 80s was the golden era of bodybuilding.
That's I'm just kind of reading this, and that is totally true. That is interesting.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Pumping Iron.
Have you ever seen that movie?
I have not.
It's kind of goofy.
I did see the cover when I was going through it.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, they were definitely involved in smoking some weed and lifting weights and who knows what the heck else. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting movie.
The Aerobic Craze with, was it Jane Fonda? Is that how you pronounce it?
Jane Fonda, yeah.
And group fitness classes. Of course, that's kind of like a big thing now. You got your fitness classes. Fitness becomes mainstream and aesthetic driven, kind of similar to today.
This is another one. Is like, see some of the pictures of the ladies back then when they're in their
headbands,
and they had their I don't even know what the heck their workout attire was. Quite entertaining. This would be fun to have some pictures. We should be able to pull them up. That'd be cool. But
yeah,
That's totally is. It is the golden era. You think back, that's when Venice Beach, they have, and they still do today, have the workout equipment right on the beach. You got your pull-up bars and your dip bars and whatever else they have there today. But that was it. That was the craze. And I always thought, like, personally, I'd love to have our melt workouts on the beach.
Yeah, that would be
I think
awesome.
that'd be so much fun. But I'd want to have some dumbbells out there and some, some cable machines and so forth, and just create a workout there. I think it would be just a blast.
Definitely doable.
Yeah, for sure.
The small price of
You just
$5 million
Right.
for beachfront property.
Well, that's the problem, I suppose, because then you'd have to use it on your property if you want to keep them out there. Otherwise, you'd have to pull them in and pull them out every day.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of interesting, the aesthetics. Something
Yeah.
that everybody looks for today was something back then as well. It's not really changed much.
Yeah.
It's just become more of a known thing because of social media. Now the aesthetics are more noticeable. Everybody wants it, and it's more competitive, I guess.
Well, and the thing that sucks, too, on the social media aspect of it is how much is actually modified pictures.
Yeah, there's filters and all sorts of stuff.
Everybody's trying to do whatever to make themselves look better. Well, most of it's, I shouldn't say most of it, a lot of it that you think is so cool is probably fake.
I mean, lighting.
Yeah, for sure.
Big thing, but yeah, I think that's kind of interesting. But like a note would be bodybuilding was much bigger back then than it is now, I feel like, because you don't really see a lot of stuff about bodybuilding in like the main news nowadays. It's more about war in Venezuela.
True. True.
Bodybuilding, it's just not as wild as it is.
Yeah, I don't think it definitely isn't as probably popular as it was. I mean, locally you'll have one or two bodybuilding shows a year. I don't know how many people do them. It's usually not a ton. But that's really not any different than your strongman competitions. I know there's some local ones, but, you're maybe getting 50 people to do them. Same kind of thing with the bodybuilding shows, 50 to 75 or whatnot. But you also have, they get this level, then if they win, then they can go to the next level and so forth. So then, it's fun. It challenges you mentally and physically.
1990s, getting close. Cardio dominates with treadmills, ellipticals, step aerobics, and the rise of personal trainers.
I'll be danged.
Sports science. That's kind of an interesting note.
Yeah.
Fitness magazines, of course, as well, becoming more popular. And I think it's kind of interesting. I wonder what the treadmills have to be manual, like those type of treadmills that you have over there.
No,
like normal treadmills.
These would have been the normal treadmills, because I don't know. Pretty sure there wasn't any self-propelled equipment at all back then. This was all plug-in. The treadmills, the stair steppers were all plugged in. They were all manual, they were all electric operated. And it's kind of funny because back in this time frame, it was like the cardio was the top dog. You really didn't talk about strength training a whole lot. Mm-hmm. Your mainstream gyms were just flooded with cardio equipment. And the funny thing is as a society, we kept getting fatter. I find that quite interesting. And I think honestly part of it too is just, the food continues to get more and more processed. We're getting more and more into that. So we got more and more things going on there that are causing issues. 90s is also probably the low fat phase, which I think caused a lot of issues. People were eating actually more sugar and processed carb foods to kind of make up to try to go low fat. So then people were getting fatter just because of that as well. And so that kind of was it was an interesting time in the fitness world. And I'm not saying cardio was bad. It's just that I think that it was overemphasized and they didn't do there was no strength training working on increasing muscle mass.
Yeah, one of my favorite things that I learned on this podcast actually is that the more muscle mass you have, the more your metabolism increases.
Absolutely.
I thought that was the most interesting note because people are always like, do cardio, more cardio. It'll help you burn off your fat. But also it's important to do the strength because that'll help you increase your metabolism and it'll make it easier to burn the fat and easier to burn off some calories. And I thought that was kind of an interesting note. And that's probably something they didn't know back then, is the whole metabolism thing.
No, it's huge. I mean, that's where it's kind of, and then as we get older, like, as I've continued to age, gets harder and harder to keep that strength and that muscle mass on. So you got to keep strength training. As we get older, it's even more important.
Mm-hmm.
Got to hang on to what you have.
We've finally reached the 21st century, 2000s. One thing I don't really understand is why the 21st century is the 2000s. That's always the one thing that throws me off.
Totally. It's weird. I don't get it either.
But nevertheless, we have functional training and performance fitness. Close to your name, actually, Max Performance Fitness. Supplements and protein powders are starting to become mainstream. It's kind of a fun little note, because that's kind of half the battle for a lot of us nowadays is, what supplements and proteins should we take so we can increase our muscle mass. And this is kind of when it started becoming popular.
Now we're starting to get into when I'm getting rolling. So I graduated college in 1997. And it's funny, we talked about the step aerobics. I actually had to take a aerobics class in college and do lead a step aerobics class.
Was that online?
That one would be another one. It's too bad there was no video on YouTube that we could pull up. And here's Brad doing a step aerobics. So now we get into that. I started out in clinical exercise physiology. So we were doing personal training athletes. And so then we get to talk about the sports science and whatnot. So now we get into the 2000s. That's where I start to kind of dabble more onto the personal side. You talk about the functional training, and really that's what MELT is a functional fitness type program.
Yep. And
so that was a big influence on me as far as in my early 2000s, I was a strength coach at NDSU, and it's functional strength. You I can't just do bench press and squat, and that's all. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're probably going to be a blockhead trying to move. I mean, you got to be able to move weights in different patterns, and so forth.
It's important to work your shoulders and all that,
And so, as we're getting into the later 2000s, that's when I started to realize that being an entrepreneur and starting my own program was what I wanted to do. Kind of actually went back to how it all started with me in my career. It's that functional strength and that functional fitness and putting it together for adults.
Yeah.
As we've passed that phase.
One thing I always think about is I have never seen anybody outside of myself and anybody that lifts with me at NDSU is doing calf raises. I always think that's funny. It's I feel like I am doing something and everybody's just looking at me like, what is this guy doing?
Right.
You know? But that's the functional aspect. The calf raises, they're important, and every little thing is important to kind of make you a better person functionality wise.
Right. Yep. For sure.
Some people just don't quite understand that. But now we're making a pretty big jump because we're going to the present. 2010s to present, social media, of course, taking over, and influencers and online coaching.
Those people on the line, they think they know it all.
Yeah. And home workouts, we talked about this earlier, but this is the true home workout. People are trying to lift from home. They have their barbell. They have whatever they want, really. I mean, you can get anything. Your HIIT style training, hybrid athlete training, of course. And, of course, wearables. I mean, you have your watches and stuff to track your steps and your sleep and how many calories you burn. So that's kind of an interesting note. That's kind of the big thing I feel like in nowadays outside of social media that is new. And we're focusing on mental health, longevity, and recovery.
Now, if you really think about it, from, like you said, 2010 to now, everything is it's just continually evolving faster and faster. It's amazing. The wearables, I don't really get into it. I don't know why. I don't have an Apple Watch. I never have.
I think that's funny too, because you're the one. You're the one guy that you'd think would have something like that.
Maybe I'm too old school.
It's just not necessary. If you're active, there's no need to track it.
Yeah, I know how hard I'm pushing myself. The other one is now you'll see people with rings on.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what that was for a long time. I kept seeing these people wear a ring, and I'm like, holy, what the heck is that? And then they told me about it, and it's actually pretty crazy, all the stuff it tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Whether, like you said, you had a good sleep, maybe you'd had a crappy sleep, maybe you should not go too hard on your workout the next day so you don't get hurt. And I mean, it's super cool. I don't get into it. I'm a nuts and bolts. Let's friggin' go and get her done, and then I'll take a break when I'm done.
For me, if I'm wearing a watch like that or the Oura ring, I would more so be excited to see the sleep side.
Oh,
I don't
sure.
really care about the steps. Like, I know if I'm, active enough and how many calories are burned doesn't really matter. It's more so the sleep, because, like,
that would be interesting. I agree.
I think it would be cool to understand, like, how much REM sleep you got, and I mean how much actual sleep you got, because I guess it can tell, like, roughly when you fell asleep and if you woke up at any point in the night and all that stuff. And I think that would be really interesting to just kind of note, if there's anything I need to change in terms of sleep, because of course that's very important for recovery. That's the one thing I'd get excited about.
And then the hybrid athlete, are you talking like the Spartan training type stuff?
Probably.
Yeah.
I mean
that has really taken off. It's not just, obviously the marathon running been a thing forever, and 5Ks and whatnot. And then when your Tough Mudders and your Spartan runs and so forth, now it's the high rocks. I mean, those type of hybrid type workouts, I mean, they've just exploded over the years, and I don't see them going downwards. Mm-hmm. I think they'll always, they'll be up there. I'll be curious to see what the next thing is, and maybe there's ways where, and I know that there's things out there where you can compete with others in other gyms. Like, for example, let's say each gym, you'd probably have to, and I don't know, this might be the future, but let's say your gym has this certain competition. Mm-hmm. And you can link it with other gyms throughout the whole world, per se, as long as everybody had certain equipment and the certain standards to use. You could easily have worldwide competitions from anywhere. Yeah. I don't think you have to be in a spot. It's just, to me, it's fun to go somewhere else to do something. But
travel. Oh man, I love traveling.
But who knows where we're headed in the future? It's pretty cool though that the last 15 to 20 years it has just exploded. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of garbage out there though too. It still comes down to working hard and getting the job done.
All right, we have reached the ending of the return. The MPF podcast has returned. Make sure you guys subscribe, of course, because we're here to give you guys good fitness advice every Sunday. I mean, you don't want to just leave us and not get this amazing advice and learn about this fun history.
Learn about the history. There's some good history. If you're ever bored, ask your friend AI, and you'll learn a lot about the history of fitness if you're interested.
Yeah, make sure you guys like this video if you enjoyed, and put a comment below of any questions you guys have regarding fitness, or, I mean, anything fitness related. It's always welcome. We can talk about it in the podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.